Hi, I'm Leah Campano, Assistant Editor at 17, and welcome to Open Book 17's Book Club. And today we have our first author interview with Claire Ahn, author of I Guess I Live Here Now. Just a heads up, this interview contains some light spoilers. I Guess I Live Here Now follows 16-year-old Melody Lee. After a minor indiscretion, she is suddenly forced to move away with her mother to Seoul, South Korea, with the help of new friends and a new crush. She learns to embrace her home in Seoul while still fighting for her dreams. So we're so excited to kick off 17's Book Club with this beautiful read, and so excited to have so many reader-submitted questions.
Leah, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so thankful to all the readers for the questions.
What was your favorite part and what was the hardest part of the writing process?
My favorite part was definitely writing the city of Seoul into the book. Having moved away from home over a decade ago now, I think it felt really nostalgic in like the best way, right? Getting to write the city into a book that I knew would be reaching readers here. That there was something very special about that. The hardest part was rewriting and rewriting. I think I have about 1,000+ pages of this book in different forms.
Where did you find inspiration for I Guess I Live Here Now?
It started out as a middle grade book, so meant for junior high schoolers, and I realized that what I enjoyed writing the most was the flashback chapters. It was initially Melody coming to New York for the very first time, and she was experiencing everything America had to offer. But in writing this, a lot of my beta readers and my critique partners were telling me that they most enjoyed reading the parts where she remembers what Korea was to her. So I did this big overhaul and I flipped everything and I rewrote it switching to what it is now from New York to Korea.
What aspect of Melody's character would you say resonates most with you?
I think the part that resonates the most with me is how she feels super sus about her parents and that they're hiding something from her. Yeah. I feel like a lot of teens sort of feel this way. Their parents aren't telling them the full truth, and obviously I was not ever in a situation as heavy as Melody's, but there are moments growing up where I can remember, oh, I feel like something's off with my parents, or are they going through something? And I think a lot of teens are more aware of the parent dynamics, or their caregivers dynamics than they come off, right? And a lot of parents don't recognize that adolescent youth pick up on things so much faster than they give us credit for.
Who is your favorite side character and why?
My favorite side character definitely has to be Aunt Rebecca. I had so much fun writing her. I'm most drawn to her because she defies all filial obligations and sort of pursues her dream. That's a little bit against our cultural expectations. In Korean culture, it's basically like a sacred principle to honor our parents and to listen to the elders and the generations that came before us. So for Aunt Rebecca to sort of pursue her own path against the wishes of her parents, she just has a lot of inner strength. Yeah. And I felt inspired by that because it wasn't something I felt like I could ever do.
Yeah, and I love how throughout the first part of the book, Aunt Rebecca's kind of always spoken about, but we haven't been introduced to her yet. And it's kind of a mystery as to who she is. Yeah. And then she becomes such a big part of Melody's life and kind of the catalyst in like helping her pursue her dreams and figure out how to get to New York and do what she set out to do when she started her application to the interior design firm. So that was amazing.
Yeah, and it speaks to the culture too in Korea, where she sort of is like this black sheep. Right, and it's almost like people are tiptoeing around the topic of the one that defied parents' obligations for them.
Yeah, there's such a contrast between Melody's more modest lifestyle in New York compared to her more lavish lifestyle in Seoul. So what drew you to write about those two different experiences?
I think that the wealth and status culture in Korea is super fascinating. It's very there and it's very prevalent. If you look like or dress like or talk like someone who has money, there's a noticeable preferential treatment. And I think I want to explore that a little bit. It's definitely not the entire crux of the book, but I found it impossible to write a book set in Korea without navigating the terrains of how status affects families and how it affects obligations to your parents. And I realized I couldn't really expose that part without having it from the perspective of someone who wasn't aware of that culture previously.
Did you base any of your characters on real people?
So I wish I had a juicier answer. Something like my ex-manager, who was horrible to me, was the person that inspired the villain of the book.
Yeah.
But not as juicy. I would say it's mostly people or parts of people that I've experienced or had interactions with that have made up different characters in the book. Sometimes if I'm feeling really dry, I'll do this exercise where I kind of just look at somebody on the subway, because there's a lot of characters in the MTA. And I'll just sort of make up a backstory or what this person is going through and kind of do that in my head, and eventually that story will find its way into the larger part of the book.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so interesting. So many delicious Korean foods are described in the book. What is your favorite food that you wrote about? That's
a hard one. Definitely the street food scene, any of the street foods that I wrote about. The street food culture in Korea is pretty lit. It's in all of Asia, actually. And it was just so much fun to write about because it was my entire high school eating street food in Korea. I think that's something I always do when I go back home. A lot of the booths have sort of disappeared over the years with gentrification and just more other like storefronts coming in. But it's something that I always look forward to when I go visit again.
Yeah. Is there one food that you immediately have to have as soon as you step off the plane?
Yes, tteokbokki, just spicy rice cakes. And I have never found tteokbokki in New York that compares to the chewiness in Korea. Immediately when I'm off the plane, that's what my mom orders for me by the time I'm home.
Oh my gosh, I love that. If you can cast anyone in a movie for I Guess I Live Here Now, who would it be?
Oh my God. Immediately, Michelle Yeoh for Melody's mom. That would be a dream come true. Second to the dream being that my book would be made to TV.
Well, we're manifesting it right now. The I Guess I Live Here Now movie.
Please, streaming platform. Please buy my book.
Are you working on any future books?
I am. I'm working on my second book. I know I'm definitely going to be exploring more family dynamics. Definitely will have the lighthearted side as well, some romance, lots of friendship, which I'm a big fan of, and probably some food. Korean food for sure.
Yeah, I hope. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It is not too late to join Open Book, the 17 Book Club, and read I Guess I Live Here Now. You can find us on Facebook. Group name is Open Book 17 Book Club. You can also find us on 17's Instagram. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.